In this chapter, I'm going to look at some commonly used type effects, beginning with outlined, shadowed, and inline type. And what unites these logos is that they all use that kind of effect. These effects are easy to achieve in Illustrator using the Appearance panel. Here are 3 examples which we can extrapolate to all the techniques we just saw. Note that I've converted the type to outlines. This isn't necessary for the effect, but I've done this just in case you are following along with these files and you don't have the fonts that I'm using. Let's begin with this example. I'll select the type, now converted to outlines, come to my Appearance panel, and I will start out by adding a white fill. And then I will come to the stroke, and I'm going to start with a black stroke. Now I want the stroke to go behind the fill. So crucially, I need to drag the stroke underneath the fill on the Appearance panel. Now when I beef up the stroke weight, it's just going to go outside the letter shapes rather than encroach on the letter shapes. I'm going to go up to that size. Now I need to add a second stroke in yellow. I'll come and add new stroke. I'll choose the stroke that is at the bottom, make that yellow, and then increase the stroke weight so that it goes outside of the black stroke. And in this particular instance, with these letters, I want to make sure that that area between the L and the O fills in. So I'm going to increase the stroke weight to 15 point. Now for the second example, like the first, we have 2 strokes. What differentiates this is that the orange outline is actually a drop shadow. If you look carefully, you can see that that is offset. So once again, I'm going to start with a fill color on the Appearance panel. Then I will come to the stroke, and I'll start with the black stroke. Drag this underneath the fill and increase its weight. Then I will add another stroke. Coming to the top stroke now, I'll change the stroke color to white and decrease its weight. So now I want the shadow to be on the stroke, on the white stroke. So I will select the white stroke, come to my Effect menu, Stylize, Drop Shadow. Typically when you apply a drop shadow, that shadow is blurred and at an opacity of less than 100%. But in this case, we want the blend mode to be normal and the opacity to be 100. Let's turn on the preview to see what we're going to get. I want the blur to be 0, and I want the color to be that orange color. I'm going to come to my color swatches. That's the color I want. And now I just need to adjust the X offset and the Y offset, like so. For my third example, I want to use an inline effect. This uses this option, Offset Path. Now, I can tell you that it's not going to work, but I want you to see why it's not going to work first of all. I'll choose to offset the path, turn on my preview, and then I need to increase the amount of offset, and this needs to be a negative amount so that it goes inside the letter shapes. So -6, say. And that's going to create a whole new interior shape. And then I can give that a color. But the problem here is that the horizontal strokes are not as thick as the vertical strokes. And that's because even though I began with a relatively mono-weight font, it was not completely mono-weight. So that's what I need to do first. I need to adjust the letter shapes in order for this effect to work really well. So I'll delete that. Then I'm going to select my letters, come and choose my rectangle tool. The vertical stroke is thicker, so I want to adjust the horizontal strokes to the thickness of the vertical stroke. I will draw myself a square that corresponds to the thickness of the vertical stroke. I'm holding down the Shift key as I do that. And then I'm going to position that aligned with the bottom of the horizontal stroke. Now I'm going to come and choose my Direct Selection tool, and I'm going to increase my view size. For very precise work, it can be preferable to work in the outline view mode. That's what I'm going to do. Then with my Direct Selection tool, I'm going to drag this path segment up so that it aligns with the top of that square. As I do so, to prevent any movement from side to side, I'll hold down the Shift key. I'll then select this measuring rectangle or measuring square and position it like so. Actually, I want it to come in just slightly so that I can get to those anchor points, because now I need to select that anchor point, hold down the Shift key, select that one, and that one, and holding down the Shift key, drag from one of the path segments, like so. We can now delete that square, switch back to the preview view mode, and the keyboard shortcut for that is Command or Control Y. Now we can select our type, object, path, offset path. I'll go 1 point more in this case, -7, and then we can apply a color to that interior path. And we see now that it is completely mono weight. So there, just 3 examples of what we can do with inline and outlined type.